Facebook world in America. Corporal Roo here. Going live today, Wednesday, January 11th, 2017. We are going to be talking about a pretty sensitive issue, but something that definitely needs to be talked about. First, before I do so, I've got a few more shout-outs I want to give out for today. First of all, we're going to do a shout-out to 7-Eleven on 2300 West. I've been telling them for a while to give them a shout-out. Appreciate you guys and all you do for us officers. I'm going to give a shout-out to Tara and Patrick from Great Clips in Cedar Hills. They just did my hair, and they asked for a shout-out. So I'm not wearing a hat, so I think you did a good job. Thanks, guys. I'm going to give a shout-out to my family, my wife and kids, parents, whoever else is involved in my life as far as family, brothers, sisters, aunts, cousins, uncles, whatever. Also want to give a shout out to my family in blue and some of my closest brothers and sisters in that family of blue. The reason I am thanking all these individuals will come with part of my talk here shortly. So let's see. Today we're going to talk about suicide and suicide prevention. Again, nothing scripted. I've got a bunch of information. I am going to be throwing it all out there. So hopefully it makes sense and we can get some good conversation going on. Also, real quick, sorry, I forgot, I want to give a shout out to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I was lucky enough to get involved in one of their trainings yesterday. They came to one of our work trainings, and they spoke to us for about an hour, gave some good information on suicide. Since yesterday, they've contacted me. I've talked to them a little bit. They have asked if I would help become an affiliate with them and volunteer to help spread the word of suicide and suicide prevention. So that's something that potentially will be happening soon. So a lot of the information I have is from that foundation today. A lot of the statistics come from them, and it also comes from other national and state records. So let's get started. 2000 just happened. Sorry. 2009. I was an officer for a city here in Utah County. I remember it well. I remember everything. I was working a graveyard shift. I went into work at 8 o'clock, and as soon as I walked in, one of my sergeants told me to come in his office and sit down. And now when you're an officer and you walk in and your sergeant says, "My office, sit down," you automatically start thinking, okay, what do I do? Why am I in trouble? Racking your mind, can't come up with anything. I remember distinctly exactly where I was. I went and sat down. I remember exactly what seat I sat in, what position I was in, what position he was in, and he told me that one of my other sergeants had shot and killed herself, probably within the hour of when I started work. I just remember thinking, this isn't real, this isn't happening. So many questions. And at that time, after he told me, you know, they were still investigating the scene and whatnot, so we still didn't have a lot of information. Since then, I've met with that sergeant's family a couple times. They do a yearly dinner on that sergeant's birthday, and so whenever I can, I go and visit with her mother and father and some of the other family. Being my sergeant, that was someone very close to me. Okay, that was hard for me. That was hard for some of my other coworkers. One of my best friends, we literally started from day one on the job. Still work together today. Probably about a year ago, if that, we were looking for some photos on a case we'd investigated, and we came across the video from this sergeant's funeral. And right there, even though it'd been 5, 6, 7 years, we both broke down and had a very hard time. We bereaved that. We still do. And we were affected by that. And I know there were hundreds more affected by that as well. Suicide is one of those things, I think that a lot of people don't think it will happen to their loved ones, to their kids, to their parents, close friends, neighbors, but it does. Okay, and it's something I think that people try maybe not to talk about as much because of that. They think, well, I hear about it, but that won't happen here. Our family's fine. Okay, that's not the case. I was thinking about this a lot last night, and it's a sort of the reason I started my advice from an officer page as well. For so many years, you sort of hide and you change your name, and you don't want people to know you're an officer. You don't want the bad guys to know where you're at. But you know what? I've sort of changed my view on that. Okay, why hide? Why do I want to hide? Okay, I'd rather get my name out there. I'd rather get my voice out there and make a difference. And that's why I'm doing this. And it's the same thing with suicide. Okay, it's something we don't like to talk about very often. Okay, but it's something that needs to be talked about. All right, I had a close friend I work with. He told me just the other day, yeah, I never thought suicide was in my family. Never. My kids were raised well. My kids had, sufficient needs for whatever they did growing up. But he told me, I was on vacation once and I got a phone call, and my 15-year-old was having suicidal thoughts. Okay? He didn't go into any attempts, but he thought about it. Okay, and that happens all the time. That happens to youth. That happens to adults, young and old. Okay, I know people think about that all the time. I have lost a student to suicide that I teach. Okay, 6th grade. 6th grade, I had a 6th grade student last year pass away. All right, it is everywhere. One thing I try to teach my students when I am teaching is we talk a lot about stress. Okay, what is stress? What does it do to our bodies? What does it do to our thoughts? And I have the students tell me, okay, it makes me mad, it makes me angry, it makes me sad, it makes me depressed, I get anxious, all these different answers. Okay, and they're right. Stress does that to our bodies. I then talk to them about stress relievers. What do you guys like to do? What are things that you as 11 to 12-year-olds do to help with your stress? And they start telling me things, and then I have them write it down. I have them draw pictures. I have them write stories or poems, whatever they want to do. Okay? They'll write, I like to play piano. I like to listen to music. I like to go play soccer. I like to go play basketball. Whatever it is, they tell me all these things. And then I tell them to keep that paper with them, because sometimes when we're stressed out, it's hard to remember that there are things we enjoy to do that can help us with this stress relief. 2013, this month actually, 2013, 4 years ago, I remember waking up and I didn't want to go to work. I all of a sudden started having nightmares and dreams and whatever it is. I started waking up at night. I couldn't sleep, and I started having these thoughts of my first fatal car accident that I had been part of years before, out of the blue. I mean, I'm at a different police department now when this happens. And that is when my PTSD started to kick in. It was interesting. I had all sorts of feelings, all sorts of thoughts. I was angry. I was sad. My emotions were all over the place. I called my sergeant. Told them I didn't know if I could go into work right then because I didn't know what was going on. It was something new to me. Okay. And 2013, 2014, it was a struggle for me. Okay. I was trying to figure out what was wrong with me, but I didn't want to talk to anyone because I'm a police officer. So if I talk to someone, then that means I'm weak. Because as a police officer, we take these things and we put them in the back of our heads. We see things that people shouldn't see, and you know what? We're okay. That's what we do. We know we have to do that. But at this time, in 2013, 2014, I took that and I shoved it in the back of my head like I did everything else. And I told myself, it'll go away. I'll just move on. Okay, it didn't go away. It got worse. All right, that PTSD is a real thing. I went into depression, bad. Okay, to the point where I started kicking all my friends and family away. All I did was stay to myself. I cut off contact, didn't talk to anyone. I figured I was better alone by myself. Okay, that is as far from the truth as I could have been. Okay, when you're struggling with that kind of stuff, whether it's PTSD or depression or anxiety or other mental disorders, okay, I know that's a big thing all over the news just about every day. Okay, you turn on any news station you want, and someone is doing something, and the potential of a mental disorder, making them think differently, is probably a high potential. Okay. If you guys are suffering from depression or anxiety or anything that is making you not feel like you, okay, go talk to someone. There's nothing wrong with getting on medications out there to help you with things like that, to help balance that back out and make you the person that you really are. And you will feel a difference. Okay, just like my students I teach, remember that we all have things that we enjoy to do, whether it's drawing, reading, working out, whatever it is. I can't tell you how many times the gym has saved my life. Seriously. Okay, it has pulled me out of some funky depression in the past. Okay, this career is tough. We see a lot of stuff, but not just my career. I know others of you have careers where you see things or deal with things or family life, whatever it is. So this is real stuff. Okay, remember you're not alone. And we'll talk about this in just a minute. Okay, but remember, focus on the things that are good. If you're having a rough time, don't do what I did. Okay, don't just tuck away in a shell. You need to open up to someone. Whether it's one person, two people, whatever. Okay, whoever you're comfortable with. Whether it's in writing, whether it's on the phone, whether it's in person, however you want to get those emotions and feelings out, do it. Okay, let me shift gears for a minute. And this is the only thing I guess you can call scripted, because I've got some statistics here. And again, these statistics come from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I do have a lot of information from their websites and different links that I will post after this live session. So each of you can go through that and see how realistic this is. Okay, nationally in the United States, this is 2016 statistics right here. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death. Okay, the 10th leading cause of death in the whole United States. And don't worry, Utah, I've got some different stats for us here shortly. And the links I have will provide stats for other states, wherever you're watching from. So nationally, suicide, 10th leading cause of death. Each year, 44,193 Americans die by suicide. Okay, and these numbers, they will put on the website that they believe the numbers to be a little bit higher. Not all suicides are reported as a suicide. Okay, so this is just what they've pulled from reports and whatnot, hospital records, etc. Okay, for every suicide, there are 25 attempts. And in those 25 attempts, there are at least 12 people who harm themselves. Okay, whether it's they cut themselves or do some kind of physical harm or damage to themselves. Utah. Okay, I'm going to come over to you for just a minute. Or to us, I guess. I guess I'm in Utah. Utah, we rank number 5 in suicide deaths per year as of 2016 stats. Okay, 5th. That means we have more suicides than 45 other states per year. Last year, Utah had 559 suicides, and which is about 20% per 100,000. Okay, so 20% of our deaths last year were suicide. Okay, crazy. All right, Utah is 5th. Okay, in Utah, suicide is the 8th leading cause of death. Okay, the 8th leading cause. On average, one person dies by suicide every 15 and a half hours in the state of Utah. Okay, that's almost 2 people a day. 2 people too many. In Utah, suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death for ages, get this, okay, 3rd leading cause of death for ages 10 to 14. Okay, I'm sure most of us on here have a 10 to 14-year-old. Okay, I know I've got 4 of them in that range. Okay, I've got 2 11-year-olds, a 13-year-old, and a 14-year-old. I've got 4 kids in the range that is the 3rd leading cause of death in Utah. In Utah, suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death for ages 15 to 44. Okay, that probably fits quite a bit of us that are on here right now. 2nd leading cause of death. It is the 4th leading cause of death for ages 45 to 54, 6th leading cause of death for ages 55 to 64, and the 16th leading cause of death for ages 65 and older. Okay. Nationally, last year, out of the 44,193 suicides that are recorded, 33,994 of those nationally were males. 10,199 of those were females. Okay. However, females are 3 times more likely to attempt suicide than males, which means males are 3 times more likely to actually go through with the suicide. Sort of interesting when you break it down like that. Okay, so is suicide a problem? Yes. Okay, and it just increases. I personally have been investigated suicides from children ages 14, 15, 16 up to adulthood. Okay, into 60s, 70s, sometimes even 80s. Another statistic here for Utah. Okay, this is the number of suicide deaths by age group from the years 1999 to 2014. Okay, I'm not going to go through all the numbers, but I am going to give you the ages and the number of deaths for that age group in 1999 and then in 2014, so you can see the increase. And again, I did just say increase. Okay, this is something that increases all the time. That's why I'm hopping on board here, and we're going to start fighting back and helping save some of these people. 1999 in Utah, ages 10 to 17 years old, there were 12 suicides. 2014, for ages 10 to 17, 33 suicides. 1999, ages 18 to 24, 51 suicides. In 2014, for ages 18 to 24, 74 suicides. 1999, ages 25 through 64, 186 suicides. 2014, ages 25 to 64, there were 370 suicides. Ages 65 plus in 1999, 33 suicides. And in 2014, for ages 65 plus, there were 74. The total number of suicides in 1999 in Utah, 282. In 2014, there were 555. Okay, and I'll put these numbers on my Facebook page here when we're finished, and you can see the increase each year. Okay, suicide is a problem, people. It's not something that we should be dancing around and thinking that it will not happen to anyone in our families. Okay, kids, like I said earlier, kids, 11, 12 years old, they know what suicide is. I've seen it. Okay, school causes stress. Sports can cause stress. Whatever it is, our children, whatever they do, those things can cause stress. If we're not behind them 100% in talking to them and being a part of their lives, okay, that's just a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. Okay, I also wonder sometimes if, we as people, individuals, spend more time doing other things, whether it's on our phones, social media, instead of being with our children and giving them attention, going to their activities, being part of their lives, sitting down and talking to them, whether it's at the kitchen table, on a car drive, whatever. Okay, a lot of what we can do to help prevent suicide is just talking and listening. Communicate. Okay, I know that can be hard. I know it's hard. I told my class, listening can be very hard sometimes. Because if I sit down and someone starts talking to me, how many of us have wanted to butt in before? But, no, wait. Okay, that's not listening. Okay, when we listen, we shut up and we listen. And when they're ready for us to talk, we can talk. It's easy as that. It's difficult, but it's easy. Okay, go figure that out. Like I said earlier, one of my sergeants shot and killed herself in 2009. Okay, one of the worst, horrible nights of my life at work. Okay, our sergeant told us, don't go out. Just stay in the police department if you want until you're called to go help a citizen, and go out and handle what you need to handle and come back. Okay, I remember it didn't hit me until the actual funeral. There's a photo in the slideshow that one of the officers made from the funeral. It's got me and one of my buddies standing there in our Class A uniforms. We can't move, and I've got tears rolling down my face. Okay? It hit me hard at the funeral. It hit all of us hard at the funeral. Let me go back to something here real quick before I move into police officers and first responders. I'm going to go back to some 2015 statistics for the United States. And I'll get back into this suicide loss survivors is what they call it. Those who have bereaved suicide, which I'm sure a lot of us have. Suicides in 2015. Fatal outcomes. Okay. Average of one person every 11.9 minutes killed themselves in 2015. 11.9 minutes. Every 11.9 minutes, someone killed themselves. Average of one old person every 1 hour and 6 minutes killed themselves. Average of one young person every 1 hour and 36 minutes killed themselves. 10th ranking cause of death in the United States. We've already talked about that. Second for the young, which would be the 10 to 14. 3.3 male deaths by suicide for each female death by suicide. We talked a little bit about that. And like I said, 3 female attempts. Oh, sorry. Let me back up. Yes, 3 female attempts for every successful male attempt. 1,104,825,000 annual attempts in the United States. That's a 25-to-1 ratio. Like we said earlier, every suicide, there are at least 25 attempts. In that 25 attempts, there are 12 of those who harm themselves, which translates to be 1 attempt every 29 seconds. Okay, we've been on here, what, 10, 15 minutes now probably, maybe a little bit more, I don't know. Okay, how many attempts nationally have we already had? Just being on here. Okay, 1 every 29 seconds. Suicide loss survivors. Let's talk about this for a minute. Okay, recent research-based estimate suggests that for each death by suicide, 147 people are exposed. Okay, 6.5 million annually. Among those, more than 6 experience a major life disruption. Okay, so when someone commits suicide, there are multiple people who are affected, who are left behind. Okay, and obviously it says some of those have a major life disruption. I personally remember when I worked at my first agency, there was a boy that I went to school with. He was a couple years younger than me, but I knew him and his family. I remember heading home from work. I just checked off duty when the call came in that he had shot himself in the head. He passed away at the hospital, and from that moment on, the next few months, I remember us getting called over to his family's home multiple times. It tore his parents apart to the point where literally they divorced later on. The mother had some severe mental issues that she started to deal with. She started to try to kill herself with a gun, with fire, whatever it was. Okay, this lasted for a while. So the effects from that one boy that I went to school with destroyed his parents' marriage, and that's just two people. Okay, that's not other siblings or loved ones. That's 2 people. So when someone commits suicide, it leaves a lasting effect on several other people, and a lot of those people will have a breakdown and start dealing with their own mental issues because of that. Let's see here. If there is a suicide every 11.9 minutes in the nation, like we just talked about, then there are more than 6 new lost survivors every 11.9 minutes as well. Keep that in mind. Suicide doesn't just affect that person. Yes, suicide, some people think it will help them, relieve them of whatever pain or suffering they're going through. Okay, and we talk about this a lot at work, or even in the training we had yesterday, but people will say, well, suicide, you can't stop someone from killing themselves. That's their choice. Okay, I get that. We all have that choice. People have choices. But if we just stand by and don't try to help or talk or listen, then that's not doing anything for that person. It was funny because in our training yesterday, I told my buddy that I was sitting next to, I said, yeah, hey, I read this story once about a survivor who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. And the survivor said as soon as he jumped, he automatically thought, no, what am I doing? This was a mistake. And later on in the day at our training yesterday, one of our sergeants showed a video. It was one of those TED Talks, and it was a retired sergeant who worked the Golden Gate Bridge. And he specifically said that there's about 1% to 2% of individuals that survive that jump when they tried to commit suicide. And he said every one of those survivors he's been around after they've jumped have thought that same thing. No, what am I doing? Why did I do this? Bad mistake. All right, that's where we come in. Again, like I said earlier, a lot of times people just want to listen and talk. Okay? They want to talk to us. So don't cut them off. Listen to them. Whether you're going with someone out to dinner, whether it's in a car ride, whatever it is. Okay? Be there for people. Okay? Us just being there and having a positive outlook and maybe even reminding someone of all the awesome things they have in their lives. Okay? That can help save a life. Okay? People comment to us officers and, hey, thanks for being heroes. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for doing that. You know what? We all can be a hero. Okay, we can all save someone's life. And sometimes it just comes down to simple communication. Okay? Sometimes it might be taking someone to the gym with you or going somewhere where you can do art. Okay, go to a book club. Find interests that they like. Be part of that life with them. Okay, let them know that they have things in their lives that are important and treasures. 2 years ago, I went to a training in St. George, and we talked about police suicide. The suicide rate of police officers is just going out the roof. Okay, it's not good. A lot of it is never heard on TV or whatnot. Usually that stuff's not reported. Okay. Almost 1 in 4 police officers have thoughts of suicide at some point in their life. Okay, and the smallest departments, they have the suicide rate of their officers is almost 4 times the national average. The suicide rate for police officers is 4 times higher than the rate for firefighters. Between 7 and 19% of police officers have symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, I told those that were on here earlier that in 2013, that's when I started to deal with my PTSD. Okay, I used to hide it. I used to think I could get through it by myself, but it's not the case. Okay, that's when I fell into a deep depression and probably one of the worst times of my life. Okay, luckily for my family and my close friends, I kept that in mind, and they, even though I sort of blew them all off, they were still a rock for me. Okay, they were there for me when I was ready to admit that I had some things I needed to figure out and grow from. Okay, now look, 4 years later, here I am. Okay, I'm not hiding. I don't care if people know I'm a police officer. I don't care if people know that I've battled depression or PTSD in the past, because I'm using that as a strength now to help you and anyone else that's out there. Okay, in 4 years, that's where I've come, and my goal is to continue to grow. I want to go and talk. I want to be a voice for others. Okay, that's how far I've grown in 4 years. And I'm super excited for these opportunities to be able to share my experiences with all of you out there. In comparison, only 3.5% of the general population experiences PTSD. More police die by suicide than by homicide. The number of police suicides is 2.3 times that of homicides. Now, we hear about all the homicides almost on a daily basis anymore. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, if you're an officer or a spouse of an officer or a friend of an officer, keep that in mind. If they come home and they've had a bad day, okay, they may need a little bit of time to regroup, but be there for them. Okay, let them know you're there to talk or listen. Get them out of the house. Go to dinner. Go to a movie. Do something. Don't let them just sit there and think about the day they had, because a lot of times that can start causing a depression. If your kid is threatening suicide, how or when do you take it seriously? How do you determine what kind of place they are in? Okay, that's a good question. um, a lot of times and this is what I've sort of seen in my opinion in my real life here. If you have someone threatening suicide, one of your kids, okay, first of all, you need to talk to them. Like I said earlier, whether it's at the table, on a car ride, or what. Okay, a lot of times kids can, and adults, but I'm talking about kids for a minute, they can put stress on their shoulders by themselves. Okay, and it gets to the point where, let's take school for instance. Okay, you may have a child who procrastinates, doesn't get their schoolwork done. All of a sudden, it's end of term. They've got really bad grades, but they need to make grades. Okay, so they start freaking out. Parents are pressing them. Hey, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. Okay, they get anxiety. They get depression. They think the parents don't care for them because they're mad at them all the time. When in reality, the parents are just trying to help them. And they might start saying things like, it's better if I'm not here. It's better if for you, it's better for everyone. Okay, could that be serious? Yeah, could be. Okay, could it also be that they're just really stressed out right now and they need a breather and a talk from a parent? Absolutely. Like I said earlier, we need to be part of our children's lives. Okay, we need to let them know that we're there for them, that we love them. Okay, it doesn't mean we sugarcoat everything and don't let them catch up on stuff, whatever it is. Okay, we still need to lay down the laws of the house. We need to enforce the rules. But we need to let them know that we still love them and talk them through this. Let's see here. Another thing you could do is if you feel that your teenagers or youth are talking about suicide frequently, go talk to someone with them. Go talk to a counselor. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes just one visit, sort of, get some things out there can explain a lot of what your child's going through. Just don't do nothing. Okay, when we sit back and say, man, my kid's just mad. He's just sad. He's just upset. He's not going to do that. Okay, when we have that kind of attitude, that's when things can get real. Okay, don't do that. Be part of your kids' lives. A lot of the prevention. Let me see here. Oh, that's weird. Look here. How to assist. Offer to talk. Offer to listen. Let's see here. Oh, promote a cohesive and supportive culture. Okay, whether that's at work, whether that's at home. Be prepared. Okay. This under be prepared. Now this is on the police side of things, but we can also use this in the family. Be prepared. Build close ties with community leaders, first responder agencies, faith groups, local media, schools, and major employers. Working together effectively will be the key to resilience for your entire community or family. Okay. Boom. Okay. Let's just stop there. Working together. Okay. Work together. Husband, wife, parents, whatever your situation is. Get on the same page. Okay, if someone's saying something to you at the house, let your spouse know. Let your significant other know. Don't just bury it. Okay, that's going to have catastrophic... that's not going to be good. Okay, we'll just say that. Again, suicide is a real thing. Like I said, I've been doing this job for 10 years now. Been part of who knows how many. Every single one of those is in my head. Okay, they are all back here. I'll never forget them. I'll remember what every one of them looked like, what every one of those scenes looks like. I'll remember the wives or the husbands or the kids when we have to tell them what just happened. Or I'll remember what they said or went through when they found their loved one who had just killed themselves. Okay, I've been on cases where a father has killed himself and his daughter found him, or vice versa. A mother has killed herself and a child or spouse has found her. Okay, going back a few minutes when I talked about having, those who are bereaving someone from suicide, actually having major issues that they suffer from later on. These are the reasons why. This is real life. It happens all the time. We need to help. We need to step up, and we need to be part of people's lives. Okay? Like I said earlier, my family who's watching, and one of my brothers, he knows who he is. Okay? They've been there for me through 10 years of this. Okay? My brother, literally, from day one, we started together. Okay, I shut him out. I shut the kids out during the darkest time of my life 4 years ago. I finally realized through things that I enjoy, okay, the gym, shooting hoops, a few things that started digging me out a little bit at a time. Finally started opening up a little bit and realizing that I had plenty to live for, plenty to stay around for, and look where I'm at now. 4 years later, I'm trying to get out there and be a voice for everyone else. That's what I want to do. I want to be here for you. I want to help you wherever you're at, close, far away, whatever. Okay, I want to be here for you and help you. So please let me know if you have questions or comments. Message me. Put posts on my page. Okay, but it doesn't have to be for everyone to see. I can help you through a message. Okay, like I said, this American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, they've been emailing me today. They want me to be an affiliate with them. Okay, I want to go out. I want to talk. I want to present. I want to be there for people. I want to help people realize that they have something to live for, because everyone has something to live for. So please, if you need anything, let me know. You can email me, advicefromanoffcer@gmail.com, or just shoot me messages on my Facebook page. Anyway, sorry, I've sort of been rambling. There's a lot of information. I can't go through it all. That would take forever. But I will post it online when we wrap up here shortly. I appreciate everyone's support. This page has really taken off, and I owe it to all of you. So, again, advice from an officer. Let's do this together, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, guys.